growing and increasing issue of climate change.
I woke up to the fact that we have a planet that's showing visible signs of distress and allowed myself to be moved by that rather than keeping it as purely an intellectual understanding. And that involved despair and grief, which I heard somewhere recently, it's right to be disturbed by disturbing things.
But I'm also really excited about, and that's the other thing that really stimulates me, because I see it as a massive opportunity, because it's the first thing that we've got to address as an entire global humanity. And we've never had that before. We've always been able to just solve problems on our own or within small groups. So we can't do this one that way. But we're faced with this enormity, and we've got to try and work together to be able to bear it first, and then we can start really dealing with it.
Most of us have spent a lifetime being in denial about this. There was a time I loved my shoes, I loved my bags, and I had like 20 pairs of everything at my place. And we've always been aware of what's going on. News is constantly telling you what's going on in the world. But for me, really, I think that inspiration came from an inner shift for myself. When I realized that the reason I was buying these things, the reason I was wanting to buy more and more and more, was actually because there was a hole inside me, an emptiness inside me that I was trying to fill. And unless I didn't fill that emptiness, unless I didn't realize that by taking from the outside, I wasn't filling anything inside, I wasn't really concerned about climate change until I had that realization that there's something inside me that I need to look at first before I go outside and try to change the world.
How do I do that?
I think we can do it through a range of different means, and it's up to us to find the particular language or the particular resonant practice that works for us. Yeah, the challenge that faces us is to be able to work through our stuff, but then, a true revolution to revolve outwards to the world.
Really, let's get into the details about what really works about shifting whole cultures. People do this in businesses, and there's certain things they learn from that. So I think one of the things we need to be conscious of is what's going to work in terms of shifting 7 billion people.
I think that's the challenge, for me at least. When things are not working correctly from within, I'm not able to see each and every person around me as family. So if I want to move 7 billion people's minds in a way, I need to be on their page, and I need to feel that actually there's a feeling of belonging with those 7 billion people.
I often wonder with our culture, when we look at a culture of depression or sickness, if that's in the background, if that's underlying everything, just keep shopping. And a culture that tells me that I'm an individual. I mean, that's how I've been raised. We've all been raised within that, this culture of individualism. It's really hard when we start shifting that, but also you do feel awake to the adventure of these times in a totally different way.
On your own personal journey, what's the biggest challenge or obstacle that you face personally?
It's a huge challenge to find out what it's going to take to shift an entire culture, and what might be the steps towards doing that. That's something I think that it takes an enormous amount of courage to be in an environment where it's a certain way and be a different way within that.
For me, that's the biggest challenge, to actually face the fears that we have in front of us. Because you're not seeing the end result. Sometimes you actually don't believe in your own potential of coming to the end of the tunnel. And I think this limiting self-belief for me is one of the biggest obstacles that I've had to face. If you're hollow inside, if you've nothing to give, then even if you're feeling compassion for someone else, you're not really of any use to them.
One of the definitions of compassion was to bear with, but also to the heart to tremble, and at someone else's suffering. It's about finding what is it that this person is touched by, and then having a conversation that isn't frightening about it, because I think we know now that fear shuts people down.
There's a huge sense of separation between I and nature. Why should I care, in a sense?
When I close my eyes and turn off all the noise of the metropolis and the noise of information that's coming, and I feel into my body and I feel into my heart, something opens in response, and that becomes nature. That is nature.
There's only a few people that are going to shift in the kind of from the ethical point of view. It's all out there. So one of the questions personally I ask myself is, well, if it's all there, why am I not looking at it? What's stopping me from looking at that?
For me to care, I don't think I can come from a point of urgency or forcing myself to do something about it out of that urgency. And I think when I do wake up and I'm grounding myself and I'm actually connecting with myself and meditating, as Lindsay said, something wakes up inside me and I feel like my heart does open. And when that heart opens at that point, I think that's when you suddenly start to feel that element of care. For me, I wouldn't stop eating meat because of that issue. I would stop eating meat because I care about animals.
What comes first? The change inside of one person that facilitates the change in the system that reflects the consciousness that people have? Or do we change the system that then allows everybody to make that shift? I believe that everybody has the human capacity to shift in an instant. We've got to look towards what's going to change the game for everybody.
What is the solution to all of this?
Mine is to step outside of my comfort zone as far as activism goes. What do I think an activist is? What do I think it is to be disobedient against a power structure that isn't looking after me right now? What does courage come from? Cœur, the French for heart. So if there's that trembling in the heart, I've got to respond. So right now, that's the challenge.
And I think that we've got to find a way to collaborate and come together as a single unit. You've seen a picture of all the big shoulder fish eating the big fish because they're working together. Absolutely, you've got to have the courage to be part of the shift in consciousness, which means standing in that uncomfortable place where everybody around you may disagree and they're all going a different way because the culture is bringing them back to do that. If you can stand as one person with courage and a lot of stamina, it allows more people to do that, and then we'll get that momentum.
So yeah, that would be love, courage, unity and compassion. That was the missing link.